Alright, what's going on, everybody? How you all doing? Welcome back to the Fanatical Viewing Podcast. Doing this one a little bit early. It might go up a little bit early. I'm not 100% sure yet. I have kind of been flirting with the idea of doing the podcast a little bit sooner, maybe like 2 times a week, depending on if I see something in the theater or something like that that I want to talk about. Like I did see Godzilla vs. Kong, which I am going to talk about on the podcast here soon. I did see Mortal Kombat, and what I'm going to be talking about today, a little bit later on in the podcast, is something I also saw in theaters, and that is the Demon Slayer movie. Is it Mugen Train? I think it's Mugen or Mubin, but I think it's with a G. I think it's Mugen Train. I did see that in theaters, and I had a super fun time. But that is actually what we're going to talk about. We're going to be talking about Demon Slayer Season 1 and the movie in this podcast. And I'm actually quite excited about this because I have been wanting to see Demon Slayer for a while. But, typically what I do is when I want to, whether it's with movies or anime, unless it's something I feel like I need to own, and then I usually just order it right away, or I pre-order it, for movies and stuff like that. I typically don't pre-order video games too often, just because that's a whole other story. But with movies, I will tend to pre-order them if they are movies that I feel like I need to own right away, or something that I just really want to watch and add to my collection. And, but otherwise, typically what I will do is I will put them on a list that I have on my phone, and then I just chip away at the list after a while. I just chip away at the list, and I buy a few things here or there. I pretty much go from the top of the list to the bottom, and I just make my way down the list, and I buy whatever is next. And Demon Slayer right now, because my anime list is pretty freaking large, the list is pretty long. Demon Slayer is more towards the bottom half, and so I haven't seen Demon Slayer, or I hadn't seen Demon Slayer yet, until my fiance mentioned something about going to the movies, and she said there was an anime movie there, and she's not an anime fan at all, so her bringing up anime in general is weird, but then her suggesting to go see an anime movie in the theater, which is really weird. And then on top of that, we live in the middle of nowhere, and even the closest town to us isn't a huge town. I think it's a population of something like 12,000 people or something like that, and the town that we live in is less than 200. But it's about 12,000 people, and then this movie theater is actually out in the middle. It's a small chain of movie theaters, and the movie theater itself is actually in the middle of nowhere. But it's actually in between 2 towns, so we actually share this movie theater between 2 towns. I don't exactly know what the population of the other town is, but regardless, it's not really important. But our theater is a pretty small theater. It has a whole, but I can't remember how many auditoriums it has. I want to say somewhere it has between 8 and 10 auditoriums. Maybe, I'm not sure if it quite has 10. I think 8 is probably around where it's at. But somewhere from 8 to 10, I think it might have 12, possibly, if I'm not mistaken. But it could possibly have 12. I'm trying to think of the size of the place, and because when you go up a ramp, and then you can go, there's auditoriums to your left and to your right. And when I'm thinking of that whole space, I think there's a possibility there could fit 12 there, but I don't think that's very likely. I think it's somewhere between 8 and 10 auditoriums. It's not a huge theater, but it has plenty of auditorium areas for all the movies that you would expect to be out. And our theater typically doesn't get anime movies. It doesn't typically get anime movies. It doesn't get the limited release movies or anything like that, typically, unless there's an empty slot that they need to fill, which, before COVID and all that wasn't very common. There's usually every slot in a theater was filled for the most part. But, so our theater typically doesn't get this stuff. If we wanted to go to a theater that gets the limited release stuff or the anime movies, we have to drive about an hour and a half away to the closest big city where they actually have, a major theater chain, which in our case, the major theater chain that the big the biggest city next to us has is Regal Theaters, and even then, I think they had that city has 2 of them, and I think only one of them is open, and the one that's actually open is the one that's even further away from us, because this is a big city, so going to the other side of the city would take another like 30, maybe 45 minutes. So going to that one is typically out of the question. The other Regal Theater that is closer to us, which is more about an hour and a half, is actually still closed, I think, because, I don't know, Regal hasn't opened all of their theaters yet, but so getting back to the main topic, our theater that's actually close to us in the next town over, which is still about a 35-minute drive, it's the town that I work in as well, that we shop in, we do all our basic stuff, it's about 35 minutes away, and then, like I said, the theater's in between 2 towns, so it's probably like an extra 5 to 10 minutes to get there, because the theater is literally like in the middle of nowhere. But it was really surprising that the theater had this movie, and, you know, I take any opportunity I can to go see, not only to just go to the theaters, because I love going to the movie theaters, but to see an anime movie in theater is quite a treat, and I've only done it a handful of times. So I really wanted to see this movie. But my fiance brought it up, and I was like, oh yeah, we could fucking do that, because I worked Friday and Saturday night, because I work night shift. So I worked Friday and Saturday night, and we were originally thinking about going on Saturday before I go to work, which isn't anything new for me. I've done it many times before. I've gone to the movies, like, there have been times I've woken up a little bit early before I have to go to work, and I'm like, well, I ain't gonna do anything. I'm gonna go see a movie, and then I'll go see a movie. Then when my movie's over, I have enough time to go to the store, maybe pick up some lunch, do something, and then head out to work. So that wasn't really anything new for me, and I pretty much decided that, like, well, I haven't seen Demon Slayer yet because I haven't bought it, because I've been, I prefer physical media, so I haven't bought it yet, so I haven't seen Demon Slayer. But, usually movies like this, I will say, usually take place in their own continuity, or like, even if it is in continuity with the show, or with the series, it's usually its own contained event. But actually, Demon Slayer, the movie takes place directly after season 1. So when I saw that, I was like, fuck, I gotta see season 1. But we decided this, my fiance decided this, I think on Thursday, or, mentioned us going to the movie on, like, Thursday, to go see it before I go to work on Saturday. So Saturday afternoon is what this would have been. So I was like, well, fuck, now that's a problem. So I was like, well, maybe if I try, fucking, like, really hard, because I have the rest of the day that day, which was Thursday, and then all of, I do work Friday night, but, before I go to work, or no, I had Friday off, that's right, I asked for that Friday off, had to take a dog to a hair appointment, so I scheduled beforehand to have that day off, so I didn't have to work Friday, the only day I was working was Saturday. So I was like, well, I have the rest of today, Thursday, to watch it, I can watch as much as I can on Friday, and then I can watch whatever I need to at work, because luckily, at work, I work third shift, there's not a whole lot of work that I need to do. They're more concerned with me making sure the place doesn't burn down, so I'm able to watch, movies, TV shows, anime, whatever, at work, and then I could hopefully finish it at work. That is, if I didn't finish it Friday, but then I would have had to have finished the series after I saw the movie. I didn't really want to do that, so we ended up going to see the movie Sunday, because, like I said, I didn't want to watch part of the anime, go see the movie, and then finish it at work. Would have been, just kind of watched it out of order, it would have been weird. I kind of told those events out of order, but that's pretty much what it equated to. And I was like, well, what if we go see it Sunday? I don't need to go to work Sunday. Usually the fiance turns in a little bit early because she works, a normal morning day shift job. So I was like, well, we'll go see it Sunday. We'll go see one of the earlier showings, so I'll just wake up a little bit early, earlier than I normally would, and we'll just go see it early Sunday morning, so that'll give me time to watch it. I watched it basically a good chunk of Thursday, a good chunk of Friday. Saturday, I ended up watching the rest of it at work, and then Sunday I was ready to watch the movie. So it was all really fresh in my head. I watched all of the series and the movie on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and then on Sunday we saw the movie. So, and I ultimately did end up watching it on Netflix. Like I said, I like the physical copies. It's taken me 10 minutes to tell the story. I apologize. I'll get into it, I promise. But I did watch it all on Netflix, because even if I did buy the series on Amazon, it wasn't going to arrive in time for me to see the movie. So I did watch it on Netflix. Luckily, it was available on there. I do plan on kind of cheating a little bit on my list. The next time I go to buy an anime, I'm going to buy Demon Slayer so I can get it in my collection, because I quite liked Demon Slayer. I thought it was quite good. And I thought the movie was quite good as well. I do have some problems with it, though. And I, have a problem kind of with the hype of Demon Slayer as a whole, but we'll talk about that a little bit. So, first of all, I'm going to talk about the series, Season 1. I didn't know much about the series. I kind of stayed out of it. I think I saw one trailer at one point, but the trailer didn't really describe anything. It didn't really give any of the story away, so I didn't really know who any of the characters were, what the story was, or anything. So I was watching it pretty blind for the most part. So we're going to be talking about, well, let me see. Well, hold on. Something just popped up on my phone, because I brought up summaries of all the episodes so I can kind of talk about them and just kind of remember all the events as they happened in order in my brain, and I can talk about them. But my fucking, looks like my iPhone told me about something, relating to compromised passwords, so I will have to take care of that after I'm done recording this podcast. Because realistically, it's probably fine, but that is something I will need to take care of. What does this say? It says my Amazon.com, but it says it's part of a data leak, so I imagine other people were part of that as well. However, I don't use my Amazon. We use my fiance's Amazon, so that may be a problem. Anyway, we're gonna basically talk about Season 1 has a lot of episodes. I really don't know if I should talk about every episode, because that's a lot of episodes. This podcast will go on forever. However, well, I was going to go through each episode, but that would just take too fucking long. So I'm just going to kind of generally talk about the series as a whole, what I liked about it, what I didn't. First of all, let's talk about the hype of the show a little bit, because I was really surprised. The show's been getting a lot of hype ever since Season 1 aired, seeing everything on Twitter, on YouTube, all the videos being made about it. And then, when it came to, I think it's airing on Toonami, I saw a second resurgence of the anime come up and everything, and it was pretty crazy to me, the amount of love and hype there was for the show. And I think it's mostly deserved. However, when I was watching it, I was like, man, this is really good. But I'm really surprised to the fanfare that it was getting. Because, I thought it was really good. I really enjoy it. It's a fantastic anime. But is it really as good as everyone was kind of making it out to be? Because, realistically, if you look at Demon Slayer, it's not an anime that's doing anything new or doing anything unique. And it doesn't need to. I'm not saying it needs to. But if you want an anime to really stand out and become the greatest of a generation, it kind of does in that regard need to do something new. It needs to do something new and unique and refreshing. And Demon Slayer, I don't think really does any of those things. I think it does a really good job of being very entertaining, and it does a really good job of taking a lot of pre-existing things and combining them in a really interesting way, but there's nothing it's doing that is particularly new or stand out, especially if you're someone who has seen a lot of freaking anime like I have. I've seen a lot of anime that are very similar to this, but Demon Slayer does put it in a different kind of combination that does make it a really good anime, but it does put it in a formula that makes it like a lot of other anime that have done a similar type of formula, and it's a formula that has kind of proven to work. So I don't think as good as Demon Slayer is, I don't think Demon Slayer deserves the credit for that, because there have been so many other anime that have done it previously. However, Demon Slayer is still really good. I think they, not a lot of, even in anime that take these same ideas and stuff like that, not a lot of them use like demons and stuff like that. Where if you look at Black Clover, which is basically Naruto, but they kind of mix it up a little bit and use magic and wizards, which is not something that is very... Magic and wizards are relatively common in anime and stuff, but not in the format that Naruto was kind of in. Like, Fairy Tail was a little bit of that, but Fairy Tail had its own sort of like... had its own unique spin on things, just like Demon Slayer kind of does. But Demon Slayer is quite good. I don't know if it deserves to be seen as like a godlike anime as people tend to view it, but it is really good. And the art and animation is fantastic. There are some moments where they use some CG character models, but I don't really feel like they ever do that in a part that kind of ruins it. They always use the CG character models almost in like the weirdest moments, where I'm kind of surprised they even bothered to use the CG models. Maybe it was one of those things where they were like, we only have so much time to finish this up. It's a non-important part of the episode anyway. Let's just throw the CG model in there. That's almost kind of what it felt like. So really, I didn't have a problem with it. They did do it at one part, which I felt was a little unfortunate. During like the first couple episodes of season 1, they had a part where he is training in the mountains and he has to dodge a whole bunch of traps. And there's a part, and I think they almost did it. I think they almost used the CG character during this part because of the way they did the camera work on this scene. But he's running down the mountain and the camera is kind of moving with him and it's following him, like almost on a rail sort of thing. And as he's moving and dodging the mountains, you can tell that they use a CG model for that. And it stood out a little bit. It's not an action scene, but it is a fast-moving scene with him doing a lot of actions, running, dodging, stuff like that. So it does stand out a little bit, but I think they mainly did it because the camera is actually moving along with the character. I could be wrong about that, but that was like really the only time in season 1 where they used the CD model where it kind of bothered me. Otherwise, it was perfectly fine. They did it in moments that it wasn't really necessary. It wasn't necessarily important for it to look fantastic. I think they did that very well. But otherwise, the art and the animation was mostly fantastic. Really good 2D animation. Ufotable did a fantastic job. Everything looked great, especially when the characters are attacking with kind of like their sword style attacks, like their breathing technique attacks. Like the main character in the show, he used kind of water attacks. And when you see the water coming from his sword, they take a really interesting art style where it almost looks like a painting. And they do that a lot, like with the lightning effects that the other character had in season 1, whose name, again, I'm not great with with character names. Even watching a 26 episode anime series that's going to get a season 2, and then watching the anime movie, I just remember Inosuke because that's a name from another show that I just happen to remember. And yeah, but really great art and animation. Really like the music as well, especially from the movie. There was some really freaking catchy ass music in this series. I found myself just kind of bobbing my head a little bit. The music in the anime was really good. I'm just kind of thinking about the stuff that I kind of liked a lot. One of the things I really liked at the beginning of the series, when after the main character's family dies, spoilers, and he starts to, train so he can, become capable, so he can slay demons and stuff like that. I like that the training stuff is very... They don't linger on it too much. They, they don't spend several episodes, like episode upon episode upon episode of him training to become stronger. It very much seems like it, not seems, it is a very much a summarized kind of training segment, because by the time that we're end of it, and I think it lasts like maybe like 2 episodes, and then we find out that like he kind of checks in. He's writing a diary for his sister to read, who's a demon that he's trying to cure, so that she can read later. And he's kind of keeping diaries just to, so she can read and get up to date. And he talks about like it's been like 2 months, 6 months, a year, or whatever. But like the training segments, like they touch upon everything that he needs to do in his training, but they don't linger on it. And then the only training part that kind of lingered a little bit, which was actually a good thing, because I think it was needed for them to kind of linger on this a little bit, because it's kind of the element that would lead into the next main story segment of the anime, was when he needed to cut the boulder. They kind of lingered on that a little bit, but again, not too long or anything like that. And they that scene also did a really good job of not only introducing the next kind of story segment of the anime, but also introducing like some weight, some emotional weight to the series, where you figure out that the 2 kids that were helping him kind of learn how to control his breathing or whatever, and eventually he's able to cut the stone. You find out the whole time that they were basically ghosts, like they were kids that were dead. So like that scene does a lot. It introduces the next story segment, but also adds some emotional weight, and I think they did a very good job kind of lingering on that part a little bit. Let's see. I also really enjoy this. I really like what they do with the characters, especially the 3 main characters. I'll talk about them mostly. So like our main character, whose fucking name I can't remember off the top of my head. Let me Tanjiro. I really like, and a lot, for fuck's sake, a lot of anime have been making this mistake, and it's been driving me nuts for a couple years now, and I'm really glad this anime didn't do it. The main character, Tanjiro, is actually fucking like worth something. He is not pointless. He's not a piece of shit. He's not, like, he can actually do shit. There have been so many characters in anime recently where we've got main characters that like amount to nothing, and they're useless pieces of garbage. That is not the case in Demon Slayer. I really like that, Tanjiro is like, he's actually like, he has some talent. Like they strike a really good balance in this anime of showing us a character. He's not overpowered, even though I do like anime where we have overpowered main characters because they're just kind of fun. But this character, he's not overpowered. He, he makes mistakes, but he still like gets shit done. He trains and he actually becomes powerful. It's not like I forget what anime it is I saw somewhat recently where it's like, oh, it was fucking Twin Star Exorcists, where you have the 2 main characters, like there's a little bit of a time skip in the anime, and like of like 2 years, I think, and they're training that whole time to get better. But you see that they trained, they take down whatever the creatures were in that anime, I can't remember the names. They take down a creature, but then for the rest of the anime, they proceed to be worthless. They are still weak. They cannot defeat a single fucking thing. They are useless. God, Twin Star Exorcist bothered me a lot. But this anime doesn't do that. You know, he starts off not knowing anything about demons or the demon core or having any training in swordsmanship or anything. But he trains and he actually becomes like really good. He actually has talent. And then even throughout season 1, like he has to train a couple more times to get better, to get more powerful, and he actually does it. He's actually a good sword fighter. He's like actually good at what he's doing, and I really appreciate that. I like that when he goes through a training segment, he actually grows as a swordsman. He's actually gaining skills. He's actually like badass. And he has some, you know, they show him as having some weaknesses at the beginning of the series. Like, you know, he's really good at thinking, but he's not good at deciding. He has a problem making decisions. And so they kind of have to drill that into him. And, like, God, they did such a good job of having just a badass character who they strike a balance of, like, yes, this character is powerful. He is badass. But obviously he still has room to grow. He still has to match up to the level of like his superiors, which we do end up seeing a little bit later in season 1, where we see the Hashira, I believe, the higher up people in the demon core. Like he still has some growing to do, but you really do see his growth in the anime. And when he's fighting a demon, he's not fucking useless. He's actually like doing something. He's doing a really good job. And I really like that they made a badass character. And I still think they have some work to do in that regard with Inosuke. Because they don't really do him a whole lot of justice. He, he's kind of like a comedic relief. But like, and you kind of meet him, I would say maybe halfway in season 1, maybe a little bit more than that. So really the only confrontations that you see him in season 1 are when they get to the forest and fight the spider dude. And he, you know, they start out working together, but then him and Tanjiro start out working together on this guy to fight him. But then they get separated. And obviously the spider guy's more powerful than him. So he kind of loses there. And then he kind of... Actually, I think that's the only confrontation they really go through, if I'm remembering right. That they go through, like, actual confrontation that they go through together. Because Tanjiro, during the whole... house segment with the guy with the drums embedded into him, they don't really fight together in that part, and you don't really get to see Tanjiro fight because he gets kicked out of the house or whatever, but he kind of gets his ass handed to him by the spider guy, and then, that kind of leads into the ending portion of the anime, where they spend the last couple episodes, recovering, and then, like, training to recover their strength, and then training to the next level. So, there wasn't really a whole... Since Tanjiro did kind of show up later on in the anime, or in season 1 anyway, he didn't really get any time to shine, so they didn't really show how capable he was, although they did a pretty good job of that in the movie, in the second half, when they are... slight spoilers if you don't want any spoilers as I move around in my chair. If you don't want any spoilers for the movie, I'm not really going to give any, big spoilers away, but in the second half of the movie, when Tanjiro and Inosuke are working together to basically cut the head off of the demon in the second half of the movie, you see them working together, and there's this thing where, again, just kind of like a slight spoiler, the demon that they're the main demon that they're up against in that movie, if he has like a bunch of eyes, and if you look into them, it'll make you fall asleep. But because Inosuke is wearing that boar mask or whatever, the demon can't tell which direction Inosuke is looking. And then there's some other parts of like Inosuke is like because he was raised in the mountains or whatever, like he has a natural instinct for things, just like Tanjiro has, you know, a natural, really good sense of smell. Inosuke has a really good sense of like just instincts, and they do a really good job of showing that, and you know his kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like this ability to think on his feet, sort of thing. They do a really good job of showing that in the second half of the movie. And then of course you have the character, the lightning guy, whose name I cannot remember. I don't want to look it up right now. They do a pretty good job, especially in the part with the house. In season 1, they do a really good job of showing, like, of giving him a lot of time, because there's a point in season 1 where he is kind of like knocked out, he's dreaming or whatever, and he's thinking of his master. And in that moment, he's fighting that one demon while running around with a kid in that house. They do a really good job of showing just, you know, like how badass he can be, and they do pretty much the same thing in the movie as well. They do a really good job, and I do want to see more of that character. I want to see more of what he can do. They do explain that he only knows one technique, but, you know, he's kind of mastered it to its highest ability or whatever. And I think that concept is kind of cool. I do hope they explore that a little bit. But he got some pretty cool time to shine in the movie as well. Let me see, what else did I really like? I was actually really surprised in season 1 that because it basically starts out like Tanjiro, his family's killed. He goes off and trains basically to be a demon slayer. Then after his time training, he goes to this thing where it's like a test that you have to pass in order to get accepted into the Demon Slayers. He does that, and then there's like an episode or so where they wait. He has to wait for his sword, because they have to have a special sword in order to decapitate the demons, and it'll actually kill them, because they can't be killed with conventional weapons, even if they're decapitated. Has to be some sort of special sword. So after he does the thing and passes and gets accepted into the just pop my finger into the Demon Slayers, he waits for his sword to get delivered, and then he goes on his first mission to go to this town where there's this demon that's kidnapping women. And then at that point, I don't know how many episodes that is. That's probably like between 5 and 10 episodes, like right there. Probably by the time you get to episode 10 is where he is fighting or beats the demon on his first mission. But he gets his second mission, his second official mission, at least I think it's his second one, is to go to Tokyo. I think it's Tokyo. And he actually meets like the big bad demon, the one that killed his family. You can recognize it by his scent, which is the actual, like, the first demon, I guess. And I think he's been around for like a couple thousand years or something like that. But he's actually has the ability to make other demons. Like, I was really surprised that not only did Tanjiro meet the demon of all demons, but the demon that killed his family, and actually comes face to face with him, like about halfway through season 1. Like, that's something you would typically see, like, you know, that during the end, like the last arc of an anime or something like that, you know. Like, I was really surprised that they did that. It was really a ballsy move, and I think it was really a good one, because it does a really good job of showing you how much of a threat this guy actually is. So I thought that was a really bold but a really smart move. Again, it's not really a unique move, but for, like, he literally comes face to face with this guy. He recognizes him by his scent, goes up to the big bad demon, touches his shoulder, and then he turns around and meets him face to face. I was like, man, that's pretty fucking bold. And the only reason they didn't fight then and there was not only because he kind of slyly scratched a human and turned him into a demon, but also because he has a fucking family. He has a wife and a daughter, which is really weird. And actually quite surprising as well. So I thought that was really interesting. Trying to think of what else in the anime just really I thought was overall just like I really had a good time with this anime. Like all the there was a good mix of kind of slower moments that have a little bit of comedy in them with just the characters interacting with each other. And then there was some good some really good story moments that were kind of serious and kind of serious and almost kind of dark, but like they were still, those parts were very entertaining because not only did you get great action scenes, like the action and the fighting in this anime were great, very well very well choreographed, very well thought out, just from everything, like the from the camera angles as well. Like everything was very just like, not that it was filmed live action or anything, but like everything was just very much visible, was very much like seen, and the art and animation was fantastic throughout just about every action moment. And then, like I said, just in combination with our main character actually worth his own fucking salt, like actually being good, was fantastic. Like I loved the action scenes. I loved every part of this anime, from the more relaxed, funny moments to the more serious fighting scenes. And those scenes are just made that much more enjoyable by the fact that our main character isn't a worthless piece of shit, Something I really appreciated that the anime did, honestly. After something like Twin Star Exorcists, that was just fucking annoying to watch most of the time. I don't know how that series got as popular as it did, but anyway. Let's see. I don't know if there's much of anything else that I feel like I need to talk about season 1. It was just really good. They cover a lot of different storylines, because it's kind of, it is the introduction, so we have to see him from a nobody to training to becoming a demon slayer to fighting his first, couple of demons. And then we kind of see that the main head honcho demon now has a thing for our main character, which kind of pokes its head at the end of the first season, but I feel like is going to be a pretty big is probably going to be a pretty big theme in terms of season 2, just the big bad demon guy just sending demons looking for Tanjiro. So I don't really think there's any more like individual things that I feel like I need to talk about in season 1. I feel like season 2 will maybe be might be a little bit more focused than season 1, just because it's not going to have so many things it needs to cover. I think it'll concentrate a little bit more on not only Tanjiro fighting demons, because not 10 episodes of the anime doesn't need to be taken up by him losing his family, training, and participating in a thing where he does fight a demon, admittedly, but it's not like a huge big fight, I would say. So there isn't going to be like 10 episodes of him just not fighting demons or anything like that, presumably, in season 2. So I feel like season 2 will be a little bit more focused with him fighting demons and confronting the demons that the head demon sends his way. So, but now I do want to talk about the movie. The movie I probably won't talk about as long, because basically what I'm going to say is I thought the movie was really good. I do have some problems with the movie. I'm going to talk about more... I'm going to more specifically talk about the problems that I have with the movie, because everything that I thought was really good about the movie is kind of the same stuff that I thought was really good about the series. Art and animation, fantastic. Music, fantastic. Characters, fantastic. I thought the story, the idea was really good, and I'm almost kind of glad the story that they chose for this movie wasn't in anime form, because I felt like it would have been too many episodes spent on this, and I feel like there didn't need to be 3, 4, 5, whatever episodes spent on this confrontation or whatever. But and also, just like the second half of the movie, a lot of action, really fucking good action, really liked it. The ending is really heartfelt. I think it is amazing. I don't like that what they did to the character that they did that to. I don't know, I don't think I phrased that quite right, but I don't like the character they chose to suffer that fate. Basically, let me point that out. I think the character they could have chosen was the Hashira, who can't remember shit, who was in the end of season 1, was looking up at the sky when Tanjiro was having his trial or whatever. He was looking at the sky, he was like, what shape was that cloud? What is that bird again? Like, he can't remember shit. I think they could have used that character, because he was, he's not a flamboyant character. He looks like a regular-ass nobody, and he doesn't have a fucking personality, or at least not an interesting one. So I don't like the character they chose to kind of suffer that fate, but whatever. I almost feel like they also needed that character to instill some values, some important human values into Tanjiro, and kind of pound into him to kind of a character to influence him to, keep getting better and stuff like that. So I think they almost needed to use that character. It does kind of suck, because I did like that character, liked his personality. I would have liked to have seen more of him, but whatever. Second half of the movie I find to be pretty flawless. I think it is fantastic. Just second half, the last hour, because it is a 2-hour movie, is fantastic. I do want to talk about the first hour a little bit. I do think the first hour of the movie struggles. I think the first hour of the movie, at its best, is just okay, and then at its worst is almost like really frustratingly boring. And it's not because I don't think the ideas were bad, I just don't think they were explored well enough. Because in the first half of the movie, again, I'm trying not to give too much away, but in the first half of the movie, there is... How should I put this? The first half of the movie is mostly... The main characters are put under a spell. So like I said, the main demon that they fight in this movie has the ability to basically make people fall asleep and dream. And he can make them dream good dreams, bad dreams, whatever. But he can also send in other people into their dreams. And basically, they get put in the scenario in their dreams. But their dreams aren't infinite. You can go to the edge of the dream and like slice it to go into the person's like subconscious or inner personality, or I forget how they phrase it in the movie. But then they can go in there and find a sphere, and that sphere, not severe, but that sphere is basically their... I don't know if it's exactly their subconscious or whatever, but it's like, it's what makes them who they are. It's their core, is kind of the idea that they're going for. And he sends people in their dreams to go find that core and to destroy it, basically, which would end up killing them, I believe. Which is, of course, the demon's goal. The only problem is that Tanjiro's dream gets explored a fair bit. The Hashira guy, the guy with the flame hair or whatever, his gets explored a little bit, not as much as Tanjiro, but it gets explored a little bit. And then the other two characters, Inosuke and then the lightning guy, their dreams are like just get touched on for like a minute, for just like a split fucking minute. It's not really explored at all. I feel like this idea of, again, I think the idea is good, but it wasn't explored well. The idea of, this Inception-like thing where these people can enter their dreams and mess with them, I think could have been explored really well. And I think there's a moment where Tanjiro is kind of breaking the spell or whatever, and is starting to come out of it. So the dream kind of, starts turning a little bit and turning more bad, more scary or whatever. But again, the movie, I'm sorry, doesn't explore that idea very well. It kind of glances over the subject. And I say it glances over the subject, but this first hour of the movie feels slow because that's basically all they're doing. Of course, like I said, the movie is a direct continuation of the series. So we see the characters get on the train, they meet the Hashira guy, they talk a little bit, there's a little bit of, intro stuff, and then we get to the dream stuff. But then the dream stuff just isn't that good, it's not explored that well. They linger on it for too long. That's like the first hour of the movie, and it gets old pretty quick. And there's this point where they're like, oh, Tanjiro knows he's in a dream, but how is he going to get out? And they linger on that aspect too long. Like, oh, is he going to wake up? Is he not going to wake up? How's he going to do it? And it's like, at some point, I'm just like, all right, get to the point already. Let him get out of the fucking dream. I'm tired of this, like, him, trying to get out of it, or him trying, or like, just, it's kind of, all of it's a little slow of a process. Him finding out he's in a dream, how to get out of it, it's all just kind of slow. And it's a little frustrating. And because of that, the first hour of the movie can be a little hard to watch. They just linger on this dream aspect stuff too long. They don't explore it to the best of its ability. I thought it was really interesting how Tanjiro is such a pure-hearted character that once the guy that invades his dream gets into, like, his subconscious to find the sphere or whatever, like, parts of his subconscious create, like, little sprite creatures, and they lead him to the sphere just because he was looking for it. Like, he kind of becomes so moved at how genuine and just nice Tanjiro is that he can't do it. He can't destroy the sphere. I thought that was a really cool, interesting, topic to touch on. And then, like you see in the second half of the movie, when everybody's awake and basically the fighting starts happening, the good shit starts happening in the movie. You learn later that the lightning guy never even really broke the sleeping spell. Like, he was still kind of in it, but he was still fighting. So it kind of touches on that, like when he goes unconscious, his like, inner personality comes out and becomes badass and starts using the powers. So, like, putting him in a dream was just generally a bad idea, because it's when he's unconscious that he becomes, like, powerful. Like, I thought the way they touched on that was pretty interesting as well. There are some good aspects in the first half of the movie. And, the idea of this whole dream theme and, like, the lead up to them getting in the dream stuff is pretty interesting. However, they stay on it too long, overstays its welcome, and the second half of the movie speeds up a lot. There's more action. There's more of, our actual characters doing shit and not just being in their dreams. So the second half of the movie, much more interesting. The second half of the movie is pretty much damn near flawless. I don't have any real problems with it. The ending was great. Super sad. I really wanted to cry, but I forced myself not to because my fiance was there, and she already thinks I'm a little bitch. Didn't need those thoughts to solidify in her mind, so I didn't, but I wanted to. Just the second half of the movie is fantastic. First half of the movie is a little rough. There's some parts in there that are good, some moments with the characters and stuff like that, some interactions between the characters, some cool ideas, but just not explored well enough, lingered on too long, and was just kind of annoying. The first half of the movie just can be quite annoying, but for the most part, it is a good, because the first half of the movie is kind of annoying, but the second half of the movie is just so good. I kind of just have to average it out to this being just a good movie. I really wish I could say it was really good, kind of like the series, or the anime series, and that's typically, how it tends to be, is TV series tend to be better in terms of story stuff just because they have more time to, touch upon things and kind of flesh things out. So series tend to do better in that regard to movies. So it's not entirely surprising to me that I would like the series so much more than the movie. But, still, I wish I could say the movie was really good like the series. But it's just good. I wouldn't call it really good or amazing. It's just, it's a good movie. And you do need to watch it because it is, a direct continuation of the first season. It's not its own contained story. It's not like it's, it's not like this is a story that takes place somewhere in season 1. It's like this movie continues at the exact same moment where season 1 ends. So you do need to see this. You do need to see this movie if you want to keep up with the story, what's going on. And the ending of the movie is, like I said, it's really sad, but it is very important as well, especially when it comes to characters, stories. It introduces a character for the first time. It introduces, well, I'm not going to say it, but it introduces a demon that is very important. It is very important for you to watch this movie. Just know that the first half is a little bit rough. But I think that is basically all I have to say about Demon Slayer. I really liked this series. Like I said, it doesn't do anything. I'm not quite sure I understand the hype, because this movie, or this series, Demon Slayer, got hyped a lot. Like, I just felt like it was super, super, really hyped. From everything that I saw on Twitter, everybody talking about it, like, I felt like it was really hyped. And I don't know if it quite deserves that hype because, like I said, it's not like it's doing anything particularly new or unique. It's just doing what it does very well and introduces a few concepts that you don't, or a few ideas that you don't see too often. But again, they're not unique. But it does kind of put them in its own formula that make it fun and just really good. But like, along with that, the writing is typically very good. The characters are very good. It's just, it does a lot of things very well that the show definitely does deserve some amount of hype. It does deserve to be watched. It is really good. It does so many things very well. So please give it a watch. I highly recommend it, the series and the movie as well, because the movie is kind of necessary story-wise. But anyway, thank you all so much for tuning into the podcast. I hope you all enjoyed. I think the next one is going to be Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm a little bit late on that one. I was originally just going to say I'm going to do these like once a week, and I'll just make a list on everything that I watch and do a podcast on it, and then I'll do one a week. But I figure I should probably do maybe 2 a week, or do them a little bit more frequently if they are for newer things like the Demon Slayer movie, which is in theaters now. Like Godzilla vs. Kong, I should have already done it. I saw Mortal Kombat. That's still in theaters, actually, so is Godzilla vs. Kong. But Mortal Kombat is, like, I think only 2 weeks old at this point or something like that. So I'll need to do the podcast on that here soon, too. So on some of the more newer stuff, the stuff that's still in theaters that I'm watching, I will probably pump out an extra podcast for you guys to listen to. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Hope you all enjoyed. Next podcast, we will get to Godzilla vs. Kong, which I will probably get that one up here within the next less than a week. Like I said, I want to get that stuff up sooner, so it'll be less than a week. I will get that up as soon as I can, as soon as I have the time. But I hope you guys will be excited for that, because I do have some thoughts about that movie as well. Some pretty specific thoughts, actually. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys on the next podcast.